One thing that's hardly debatable anymore is that modern comics suck. So what I like to do is I like to go back, look at some comics, look at some series, some stories, even events that just tell you that comic books were so much better in the past. And we're going to be looking at what should be considered a simpler time. But in all honesty, the 1950s for comic books were tumultuous. This is the time of the Comics Code. This is the Wortham trials. This is when books were trying to be what they wanted to be, but were told to be something else. There's a lot to it. So I rounded up 10 reasons comic books were better in the 1950s. Hey, true believers, my name is England Teen. Kick back, relax, and let's get this party started.
I know you're gonna dig this.
All right, kids, beginning the countdown with number 10. Tales of Suspense. Now listen, I understand. Usually the conversation goes like this. Hey, Tales of Suspense, blah, 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 blah. Iron Man. That's it. But Tales of Suspense is one of the greatest creature-creating comics of all time. You get things that had names that you're going to recognize coming up. Cyclops. You got Magneto. You got Electro. All sorts of bizarre monsters were created in this comic book. It is so much fun. It's a sci-fi book. It's a horror book. It's a great anthology that, yeah, I'm sorry, dudes, the first 38 issues should count. Unfortunately, more and more we're finding out that they don't, except for some collector to put on his wall like myself. I would definitely do that. But these stories deserve to be read as well, and I do recommend you do what you can to go on out and search them down. You will not be disappointed. Number 9. The Comics Code affected a lot of characters, none so much as Batman. And thus we get Sci-Fi Adventurer, not Dark Knight Detective, ladies and gentlemen. He wasn't doing that in the 1950s. He was fighting weird creatures. He was fighting aliens. He was doing all sorts of things that Batman really honestly should not be doing. He was wearing weird costumes. He was a fish at one point, a fish man. There are just strange stories told, and I got to tell you, when I first encountered them, I hated them. Didn't like it. Didn't care for it. Really. Absolutely. You had all of the different costumes that didn't look like Batman. At one point in time, Batman was wearing a rainbow costume because Robin had an injured arm and he wanted to distract people. This isn't Batman. So when I read it the first time, I'm like, what the hell is this? But now I see it for what it is. This is a lot of fun, kids. And I will say it again, this is pure 100% Silver Age silliness. It's awesome. All right, here we go with number 8. I have to include the Rawhide Kid, right? Actually, you know, they did a 16-issue series before Jack Kirby and Stan Lee got a hold of them for Marvel Comics. Yeah, there's an Atlas version of this, and it's actually pretty damn good. This is a more, I would have to say, serious kind of Western story. Later issues, it becomes more fantastical. And you could say this is more straight up, perhaps even cliched. But it is a lot of fun. And it's drawn well. It's written well. It's the kind of Western you want to read. And it is before all of the buffoonery that came with the Rawhide Kid. And I know Eric's out there, if he's watching this, going, hey, because of what they did to him in the 2000s and such. But if you ever do get a chance through trade paperback, digital, whatever, do yourself a favor. Find the Rawhide Kid. Marvel is good. Atlas, in my opinion, is different. I don't know if I'd say better because, come on, Jack Kirby drew the Marvel version. Number 7. Superman's girlfriend, Lois Lane. There are some good and bad things about this. There's a lot of Silver Age silliness when it comes to Superman's girlfriend, Lois Lane. If nothing else, when she first appeared, she was a lot tougher. She was a lot more his girl Friday. You know, she was a really, really go for it kind of a reporter. And in this, she's like, marry me, Superman, and that is that. But every issue is its own story, and every issue is absolutely a good time. Now, granted, I know when you hear Superman's girlfriend, Lois Lane, you think I Am Curious Black. If you can find that, that's awesome. But I'm telling you, these earlier stories as well are just as ridiculous, just as fun. And yeah, there's a reason why they keep showing up in my auction. They're accessible, and I am reading them as I go along. Alrighty, there you go. Let's move on. Number 6. Let's talk about Bizarro Kids. First appearing in Superboy number 68 by George Papp and Otto Binder. He was created to be kind of a Frankenstein monster, almost a one-off, really. Just a Frankenstein monster with all of Superboy's powers. Yet he became incredibly popular. Popular enough for there to be an argument on who actually created the character. There was a comic strip, and the dude who did that said, no, wait, I had the idea for Bizarro long before he entered into comics. But Bizarro was very popular, and he ended up getting a 15-issue backstory run in Adventure Comics between 285 and 299 in 1961. Personally, I discovered him in the Super Friends, and he looks weird here. One thing that can be said for the creation of this exciting Superman character is that Alvin Schwartz, the guy who did do the comic strip, created the Bizarro speech, the meams, the speaking in opposite, and so forth and so on. An interesting character, a fun character, all created in the 1950s, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, kids, we're moving on to number 5. Earlier we talked about Batman. Let's talk a little bit about Batwoman in the original Batgirl. Edmund Hamilton and Sheldon Moldoff created the character, I kid you not, to be Batman's beard. Seduction of the Innocent came out. We had the Wortham trials. Batman and Robin were accused of homosexuality. You can't have that. Enter Kathy Kane. Enter Batwoman and Batgirl. Let me tell you, if you find these stories, they're in the omnibus, the Silver Age omnibus and such, and they're so much fun. She's such a great character. But what ended up happening was Julia Schwartz came in and he's like, yeah, this is non-essential. We don't need this one. Let's throw out the Batwoman. Let's throw out Batgirl. We're going to get rid of Batmice the Hound. We're going to get rid of all this stuff. And she ended up being a Where Are They Now kind of character. I don't think she deserves to. Go check out the Silver Age Omnibus. The good thing is recent years, she has kind of enjoyed a bit of a renaissance, especially with the creation of the new Batwoman. People are searching out the older one, and hey, why not? Check out some good Silver Age silliness. Number 4. We all know that the Punisher's so badass that a bunch of cops decided to wear his emblem as a sign that they too were among the badass. However, there is only one comic book character tough enough to be the unofficial mascot of 2 national armies, one for Australia, one for Canada. He's also the official mascot of a Chicago street gang called Satan's Disciples, a high school called Eagle Valley High, and to top it all off, a surf club in New Jersey. I probably should have ended with the street gang. Character I'm talking about is Hot Stuff from Harvey Comics. So badass, he's one of the few Harvey comic book characters who had their first appearance in his own issue number 1. Created by Warren Krimmer and Howard Post in 1957, he caused a little bit of controversy, and as such, he ended up not hanging out with the more popular characters, Wendy, Casper, Richie Rich, and such. He ended up with Stumbo the Giant in the lower, I guess, the lower tiered Harvey comic characters. That being said, he starred in over 10 books on his own. They're a hell of a lot of fun. I highly recommend them. Like I said, he's my favorite Harvey character. And he's made better if you actually believe the whole Richie Rich died, became Casper, and then his soul went to hell thing. I don't know. There's a darkness there. But kids, it's a hell of a fun comic, even if it's Richie Rich in hell. I would say seek out issue number 1, but I have not been able to find one for myself, digitally or otherwise. Number 3. Let's talk about the first superhero of the Silver Age. Nope, not the Flash. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking about Martian Manhunter. He first appeared in Detective Comics 225 in a backup story called The Manhunter from Mars. Very appropriate, that one, for a character named Martian Manhunter. One thing to note, of course, we all know he was one of the original members of the Justice League, one of the first 7. Let's reunite the 7. But also, he's one of the members of damn near every Justice League team. He is a staple. But if there is a character that Rodney Dangerfield's own personality could play, it has to be Martian Manhunter. He just does not get the respect that other characters from the same time period do, which is kind of weird because he is one of the most striking and one of the most powerful heroes of the DC comic universe. And who else could say they've been live action played by David Ogden Stiers? Here we go, gang. We're at the runner-up, number 2. So who do you find hotter, Marianne or Ginger? The way you answer that is the way you're going to answer our question for number 2. Who's better, Betty or Veronica? Now, originally it was called Archie's Girls, Betty and Veronica. By issue 347, they dropped the Archie's Girls, boom, Betty and Veronica were really born, I guess. But this comic really did set up the question that a lot of people are still asking. Who would you be interested in? The rich girl, the stuck-up, prim and proper, but hey, she's got money, or the girl next door that probably understands you a little bit more, gets you a little bit more? These books are a lot of fun. And yeah, if you go back, Archie is Archie, whether it's Betty or Veronica, Jughead, so forth and so on. I think these books kind of explore relationships a little bit more than the other ones do, even though they still are the comical books that they always have been. I do have to say they do lean in favor of Betty. She first appeared in Pep Comics 22 with Archie, and Veronica was a few months late coming in at issue number 26. However, it's a great fight to watch. And the number 1 comic or comic book character that proves that comic books were better in the 1950s not only is, but I think absolutely has to be. Nah, I don't think I'm going to show you, but for a clue, I will play you this. Name that tune. Our number 1, ladies and gentlemen, is none other than Scrooge McDuck. Yeah, you may think I'm cheating. By all means, I used Donald Duck in another list a while back, and for a lot of the same reasons I'm going to mention here. I am a DuckTales fan. I am a Carl Barks Scrooge fan. I'm a Donald Duck fan. I think the Ducks are awesome, and they're some of the best Disney comics that have been out there, hands down. I actually did a comic book origin of Gyro, and oh my gosh, Magica Dispel. I love these characters. I love these stories. And yeah, they're simple and they're fun and they're for kids, but you know what? Sometimes we have to let that inner child out. There you go, gang. 10 reasons comic books were better in the 1950s. What did you think? What did I put on that list that shouldn't have been there? What do you think I missed? Did you see the other episode of the 1950s? Because these were some great times. I liked going through these. I liked looking them up and rediscovering them. I swear to gosh, I cannot find a first appearance of Hot Stuff. I can't. If you guys can do it, please send me a link. I would love to read that again. Maybe do a comic book origin, a first appearance of it. That would be a lot of fun. That being said, don't forget to do all the clicking, liking, sharing. Go on over to Ko-Fi. Drop $1 in the tip jar. Like, thank everybody who's already done that. And to everyone, all of the true believers, thank you very, very much for watching.